Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're heading to Cape Town, South Africa to unpack a YouTube video.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this is no ordinary YouTube video. It features a community leader who is just letting everything out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the usual polished political stuff.
So like straight from the heart.
Exactly. Raw emotion and some really strong statements. And I've got to tell you, some of the things they say are going to make you stop and think.
Like what, for example?
Well, at one point, they just come out and say, we are governed by a slave system.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah. And then later on, they drop this bomb. The gangs make the decisions now.
Okay, so we're dealing with some serious frustration here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly why we're tuning into this, this speaker. They're a member of the National Colored Congress, and they're giving us a perspective that we don't often get to hear.
It's like a window into a community that feels ignored.
Exactly. And they're not holding back.
Yeah.
They're talking about their life, their reality, not some theoretical debate.
So it's personal.
Yeah.
It's
very real. And one of the things that just jumps out at you is how much they're hurting about the lack of chances for young colored people.
Especially when it comes to jobs and the economy.
Yeah. Like even with things like Black Economic Empowerment or BBE, that's supposed to help.
Right. BBE. The idea is to lift up Black South Africans. But this speaker, they're not buying it.
No. They're saying it's not working for their community.
They feel like they're being left out. While BBE is meant to benefit all Black South Africans, the speaker argues that the needs of the colored community are somehow getting lost in the mix.
And it's not just a feeling. They're pointing to very specific examples.
Like what kind of examples?
Well, they talk about university admissions and how limited the spots are for colored students. They actually break down the numbers. They go, diversity intake, 8% Black, 9% colored, 5% white, 3% Indian. What is that CAC?
So they're seeing these quotas and feeling like the system is rigged against them.
Yeah, like it's almost set up to hold them back.
And this isn't just about university. They're talking about a broader lack of opportunity. They even say they're trained as an engineer, but they're stuck doing ironwork to survive.
Wow, so they're saying, we've got the skills, we've got the drive, but the doors are closed.
Exactly. And I think that helps explain why they make that shocking statement about the gangs calling the shots. It's like they see this power vacuum in their community.
So where there's no hope and no opportunity, the gangs step in.
Sadly, that's often how it goes. And it's incredibly dangerous because it undermines the whole idea of a functioning society.
It's almost like they're saying the government, the official structures, they become irrelevant. It's the gangs who are really in control.
That's a really disturbing thought. And it makes you wonder what happens to a community when things get that bad.
Well, this speaker doesn't shy away from that. They talk about the violence and the trauma and the lack of support. It's really heavy stuff.
You mentioned a quote earlier about gangs making decisions. What else do they say about this?
Oh, there's this one line that just stayed with me. They say, we don't get counseling. We need to overcome the trauma by ourselves.
So it's not just the physical violence, it's the emotional scars, the sense of hopelessness that just hangs over everything.
Exactly. And the fact that they feel like they're dealing with it all alone.
That's the part that really gets to me. Because unaddressed trauma can have devastating consequences. It can literally tear a community apart.
It's like a wound that never heals.
And it can lead to more violence, more despair. It's a vicious cycle.
Now, there's one thing that really struck me as I was listening to the speaker, and I'm not sure how to make sense of it. It's how they talk about respect.
Oh, yeah. What about it?
Well, on the one hand, they're demanding respect for colored people.
Right.
Rightfully so. But then they also say this. We need to disrespect each other. We need to respect them because we need them. We don't need them. They need us. It's like, what does that even mean?
It sounds contradictory, but I think they're trying to get at something deeper. They're talking about power dynamics. Who has it? Who doesn't?
So it's less about genuine respect and more about surviving in a system that's stacked against you.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, we're forced to play by their rules, even if those rules are unfair.
It's about navigating a rigged game.
Right. And I think they're trying to wake up their community to see that they do have power, even when it doesn't feel like it. They say, they need us. The power of the people is greater than the people in power.
And this whole idea of power, it ties into another point they make about generational wealth. It's heartbreaking, really.
What do they say about that?
They talk about this hypothetical white South African inheriting a house worth millions of rands and how colored people have nothing like that to pass down. It's like the legacy of apartheid is still alive and well.
Absolutely. The playing field is nowhere near level. And that economic disparity, it goes back generations.
It's a reminder that the past isn't really past. it's still shaping the present.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most important ideas this speaker brings up: the difference between equity and equality.
Oh yeah. They make this really clever analogy with boxes to explain it.
Right. The box analogy, it's so simple, but it gets right to the heart of the matter.
So help me out here. Refresh my memory. How does it work again?
Imagine you're trying to see over a fence. But some people start with a bigger stack of boxes than others. Giving everyone one more box doesn't solve the problem. You have to make sure everyone has enough boxes to reach the same height.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not just about treating everyone the same. It's about recognizing that we all start from different places.
Exactly. And that's where the speaker's frustration comes in. They're saying we've got legal equality, but the reality on the ground is very different.
It's like the system is still working against them, even after all these years.
And they're not just complaining, they're proposing a radical solution.
What is it?
They're calling for unity and self-reliance within the colored community. They want people to take control of their own destiny.
So it's like a call to action.
Absolutely. They're saying, we can't wait for someone else to fix this. We have to do it ourselves.
Wow. So we've covered a lot here. Everything from economic inequality to the role of gangs to this call for a radical change in mindset. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But before we go any further, I want you to stop and think for a second. What stands out to you from this speaker's message? What resonates with you?
It's a good question. And as you're thinking about that, I want you to consider this. How might this call for unity within the colored community impact the whole political landscape of South Africa? It's a big question with no easy answers.
It's kind of interesting, though. You know how the speaker is not just blaming the government or society?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, they also look inward.
Yeah.
You know, at the colored community itself.
Yep.
And how they might be contributing to their own problems.
Oh, right. Right. There's that part where they say we are our own worst enemies. Like they're concerned about infighting and a lack of unity.
Exactly. They're saying that too often people are focused on getting ahead, even if it means stepping on others.
So it's like that every man for himself mentality.
Yeah, and they even give the example of housing projects where some people are happy with their own little piece of the pie, even if their neighbors are left behind.
It's like they're saying that this I got my attitude is holding the whole community back.
Right. And they also talk about this sense of learned helplessness.
Yeah.
You know, like people have just accepted their lot in life.
Like they've given up hope.
Exactly. And the speaker is trying to shake people out of that. They're calling for a change in mindset. They want people to take responsibility and start fighting for something better.
So instead of being victims, they need to become agents of change.
Exactly. They even say, you are the change. You must fight for change. It's a powerful message.
It is. But they're also really critical of those they see as benefiting from the system.
Yeah.
Even within their own community.
Yeah. They're angry at those who are seen as complicit in maintaining the status quo. Yeah, the ones who are profiting from the current situation.
Like those community leaders they call out.
Right. They're furious with those leaders who they accuse of enriching themselves while neglecting the needs of the people.
I remember that part. They ask, so why are we still having community leaders? Why are we still having community leaders that don't serve our community? It's pretty harsh.
It is. It really shows how disillusioned they are with the leadership structure.
And this distrust, it goes beyond just community leaders. It extends to the government too.
Yeah. They talk about how gangs have filled the void and become the de facto authority in many communities. It's a pretty bleak picture.
It's like they're saying that law and order have broken down and the criminals are running things.
That's the sense you get, and it's no wonder they feel so betrayed by the promises of post-apartheid South Africa.
Yeah, they were hoping for a more just and equitable society. But it feels like the same old injustices are just taking on new forms.
And this sense of betrayal, it comes out really strongly when they talk about economic disparities. You know how they talk about how the white man still controls all the resources?
Right. They say, why? Because the white man is the beneficiary of our diamonds, of our gold, of our platinum, of our uranium, of our minerals. It's like they're saying that their community is still being exploited even though apartheid is over.
Exactly. They see this direct link between the wealth of the nation and the poverty of their community.
And they don't hold back when it comes to criticizing the education system either. They claim that it's designed to keep them down.
Right. They're furious about how they were taught to look in the dog's hole instead of learning valuable skills.
Yeah, they say, what comic? Jumpin', he teaches that cop in school. He didn't teach you, my friend, how to work with gold. No, how to mine that gold, how to mine the diamonds. It's like they're saying that the education system is failing to prepare them for success.
And it's not just about specific skills, it's about a whole way of thinking. They're calling for a decolonization of education, a curriculum that reflects the experiences of all South Africans.
So it's about challenging those dominant narratives that have excluded and marginalized them.
Right. And this ties into their point about fishing permits and how the sea also belongs to the white man.
It's like they're saying that even something as basic as fishing is subject to a system that benefits the privileged few.
Exactly. It's all about economic exclusion and how the legacy of apartheid continues to shape the present.
It's a reminder that we need to be thinking about equity, not just equality.
Right. It's not enough to just treat everyone the same. We have to acknowledge the historical disadvantages that certain groups have faced.
And that brings us back to that powerful analogy with the boxes. You know how some people start with a taller stack?
Exactly. It's a brilliant way of illustrating how simply giving everyone the same thing doesn't necessarily level the playing field.
We have to make sure that everyone has enough boxes to reach the same height.
Right. And for this speaker, that means dismantling what they call the slave system and creating a new reality for their community.
A reality where they have genuine opportunities to succeed.
And they see unity and self-reliance as the keys to achieving that.
So they're calling for a collective awakening within the colored community.
Exactly. They want people to recognize their own power and agency and start building a better future for themselves.
And it's not just about individual success. It's about building a movement, a collective effort.
Right. They say, our children don't have a future. We are their future. We all here together are those children's future. It's a powerful statement of responsibility.
It's like they're saying that the future of the community rests on their shoulders.
And they're calling on everyone to step up and play their part.
It's really inspiring.
It is. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable society.
You know, one thing that keeps coming up with this speaker, it's this idea of identity. Like, who are they as colored people in South Africa?
It's about owning their story, not letting others define them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's this part where they compare themselves to the black community and how they've reclaimed the word nigger and turned it into my nigga.
Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting point.
They're saying, look, they took a word that was used to hurt them and made it their own. We can do the same. We can reclaim our identity.
It's about taking back control, turning something negative into something positive.
And they specifically talk about colored pride. They want their community to feel that again, that sense of belonging and strength.
They say, we must put back that pride that they took away. We're not proud anymore. That pride is gone. We must bring it back. It's powerful stuff.
It is. And it makes you think about how their history has been treated. Like the Khoisan people, the original inhabitants of South Africa. Their story has been almost completely erased.
It's like they've been written out of history.
And this speaker, they're not having it. They bring up the Khoisan and they ask this question. The colored man, the black man came a little bit later. I don't know them, but they were the first. They were given here. The white man came here with a ship with his stinking ass, with nothing under the ship, nothing on top of the ship. But he owns the farm, and the Khoisan owns nothing. So how is it one race owns everything in South Africa?
Wow, that's a heavy question. It challenges everything we think we know about South Africa.
It does. And it goes right to the heart of the struggle for justice. It's about land. It's about resources. It's about who gets to control the narrative.
And who gets to benefit from the wealth of the nation.
Exactly. And this speaker, they have a vision for a different future.
Yeah.
They say, we don't need them, they need us.
That's a bold statement. It's a declaration of independence.
It's like they're saying, we're not going to wait around for them to give us anything. We're going to create our own opportunities.
It's about recognizing their own power and their own potential.
And it's not just about individual success. It's about community. They say, our children don't have a future. We are their future. We all here together are those children's future. If we can stand together, then the children's future is going to be like that black child's future, like that white child's future. We've got a future also. We are also human. It's about coming together as a people and fighting for a better future.
It's a message of hope and unity, and it really makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about the struggles for justice that are happening all over the world. And it reminds us that we're all connected. We all have a role to play in creating a better future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this conversation has given you some food for thought.
And that it's inspired you to get involved in the fight for a more just and equitable world.